What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about Banff National Park in Canada. I literally just heard about this place. I don't know a thing about it, but that's the whole point. So just to get a little bit of pretext, if I type in Banff National Park, I just want to know where it is for one thing. Oh, look at these Google results are always so funny how they're written. What is so special about Banff National Park? What is special? Famous for its surreal colored lakes, majestic mountains, endless outdoor adventures. Pretty cool. You know, this is a whole thing, kind of a problem when Americans think about Canada. They don't think about like beautiful, amazing landscapes, places to visit and like hike and like get an outdoor experience and like a beautiful experience. Americans don't really associate that much with Canada, but it's so far from the truth. There are so many amazing places you can visit, like this national park. At least I'm hoping so. I hope I don't eat my words, but I think when I watch this video, I mean, even the cover picture looks amazing with this lake and mountains. So I feel like it's safe to say the park is going to be amazing. So it is in Alberta on the west side of Canada. Not that far from the United States, you know? Seriously, if an American was going to visit something cool in Canada, this would be a pretty logical option. Anyway, no need to get too logical here. We're also here to tap into the emotional experience beauty of Canada. And as this video says, the top 10 hikes and places to visit in Banff National Park. Let's take a look.
Let's jump right into my top 10 hikes and places to visit in Banff National Park, Canada. So for number one, we have the Big Beehive, and this is probably one of my all-time favorite hikes in Banff National Park. And
the Big Beehive. I'm sorry, but that is a fun name. But why? I don't like bees, but it is a fun name. I think maybe just because of how it's shaped, beehive?
Aside from how amazing the Big Beehive is, this is an awesome hike because it includes so many...
This is what I'm talking about. I'll try not to pause this too much. But I'm sorry, I can't just keep this going. Like every frame is like a work of art so far. This right here, look at it. Would you just stop and look at it for a second? Beautiful.
Many other things. When you hike up to the Big Beehive, you get to see all sorts of different vantage points of Lake Louise. You get to visit Mirror Lake, Lake Agnes Tea House, and then finally the Big Beehive, giving you beautiful views of the mountains in every direction around the area.
Insane.
So the Big Beehive is a 6.8 mile round trip hike with 2,545 feet of elevation gain.
Oh, right. Like, that's another thing. Americans, on average, not all Americans, are not too into hikes, not too into the whole outdoorsy athletic thing. But if there was anything that like a American tourist was going to enjoy doing, it would be like a hike like this. So I'll say for those who are willing to like travel out and experience stuff, this would be absolutely wonderful. And it's only 6 miles, 6 something miles. That's not too bad. Just hike it. Leisurely, beautiful experience. You wouldn't even notice that you're out and about traversing all this like that. Wouldn't notice that it's like a hard or like an endurance test because it'd be so incredible just looking around.
It is a loop hike that also includes Mirror Lake, Lake Agnes, and the Tea House. The Tea House at Lake Agnes is open from June 4th to October 1st. The tea house itself sits at 7,005 feet above sea level, where you can enjoy a cup of loose leaf tea, homemade mountain treats, and just enjoy the views while you're hanging out. It's super cool that it is up there, kind of just in the mountains.
Oh, wow. I like that he's including like tea houses and random like places you can visit and get a drink or something in addition to the hike itself. That is pretty cool.
I really like that about it. And just a quick note on this, don't forget to bring cash because when we went, they did not accept credit cards. In my opinion, the Big Beehive gives you the coolest angle of Lake Louise I have ever seen. Being above it just makes that aqua blue color that much deeper and more rich. It is so beautiful. We hung out there for hours this morning. We had some beautiful inversion clouds that were just sweeping across the landscape.
Wow, you know, I feel like you could spend all day just on this one hike. So, if there's 10 hikes here, you could spend like 10 days at least looking around this national park. My goodness.
And it's honestly some of the coolest time lapses I think I've ever shot. So the trailhead for the Big Beehive starts right at Lake Louise parking lot. You walk around the lake before cutting up into the trees, and then you come out around Mirror Lake where you can see the Big Beehive directly above Mirror Lake. And then the terrain starts to get a little bit more rugged, but there's not going to be any climbing or...
I feel like I still don't get why it's called the Big Beehive. He just said you go somewhere and you'll be able to see the Big Beehive. We are not talking about some kind of physical beehive. It's like a metaphorical beehive, right? Right?
Scrambling on this route, so any person with moderate fitness can do this hike. I would definitely recommend packing micro spikes though, because at the end of September when we did the hike, it was already snowy as you got to higher altitude.
Okay.
And spikes definitely helped us on the steeper terrain towards the end.
Cool. Even the fog is like picturesque.
Number
Wow.
2 is going to be Lake Louise. I know we just kind of touched on it in the Big Beehive, but just as itself, you can't have a trip to Banff or Canada in general if you don't stop at Lake Louise. It's one of
Really? Okay, Lake Louise. Let me go jump back to the map. Let's zoom in. Oh, is that not it? That's Lake... Ooh, can I even pronounce this? Lake Minnewanka? Okay. Two Jack Lake, Cascade Ponds. Where's Lake Louise? Lake Louise. Banff National Park. There we go. Show me. Oh, wait. That looks like a river. And there's the Lake Louise Inn. Is this lake just like fictional? Like secret? Does it even exist? Oh, wait. Ski resort? No, this is Mud Lake. You know what? Maybe the lake is so magical and so incredible, it doesn't even exist on maps. You just have to... It's like the treasure in Pirates of the Caribbean. You can only find it if someone who has already found it leads you there. So, you know, that just makes this even more special. Wow.
one of the most beautiful places in the world. Getting on top of the Big Beehive in number 1, it's great for adventurers and people looking for a big day hike, but you can get just as much beauty from the lake shore of Lake Louise itself. Canada has made the lake extremely accessible, and the parking lot is just a few hundred feet from the lake. Parking at Lake Louise is $11.70 USD, which is a small price to pay for this place. There's tons of hiking trails, some of which I'll go over in this video aside from the Big Beehive, but I think the coolest thing about Lake Louise is its accessibility.
Yeah, I mean, like 100 feet from the parking lot. Even an American could make that journey. Are you allowed to canoe in the lake or do some boating, or is that forbidden? Or it is a national park. I'm not exactly sure what's allowed.
Making it so anyone can go.
Oh, there they are. Perfect. I love when the video answers my question instantaneously.
The entire lakeshore is paved so anyone can walk around it, and it's a great afternoon activity. Just hang out and enjoy the views. It may come with more crowds than the backcountry, but it is amazing that everyone can enjoy this place, and there's very minimal effort to get here. And at the area, since it is a little bit more commercial, you can have kayak rentals and get out on the water if you would like. There are bathrooms, there's coffee shops, so they definitely have it all for just hanging out here for a day or two. It's awesome.
Okay, cool. Very nice. With the rentals. These are some nice time lapses, man. Like, these are well done.
Next up at number 3 is going to be Larch Valley, and this is easily the most beautiful fall foliage hike I've done in my entire life. As a landscape photographer, I have chased fall colors all over the world, but Larch Valley definitely takes the cake. It's unbelievable, and
yeah, these mountains, this valley, And the view of the mountains is just insane.
Honestly hard to believe that it is real. My first time hiking Larch Valley was on my third trip to the Canadian Rockies, and honestly before this trip I didn't even know that Canada got fall colors. It may have been naive of me, but I always just assumed it was too cold that far up north. But clearly I was mistaken. Larch Valley is surrounded by some of the most beautiful mountain peaks in the Canadian Rockies and Banff National Park.
I was gonna say, like, this must be a mountain range. It's the Canadian Rockies. Okay. I'm still pretty bad at my Canadian geography and whatnot. But the Canadian Rockies must be like one of if the biggest mountain range in Canada, I assume.
The hike up to Larch Valley is going to be 4.2 miles round trip with around 1,500 feet of elevation gain. It's definitely worth every step. And then once you're in Larch Valley, you can kind of walk around. There's like a good half-mile stretch where you can kind of walk back and forth, see different trees, how they line up with different peaks, and it's an awesome place for photography, and I couldn't recommend this hike enough, especially people who love chasing fall foliage.
Seriously. Talk about some Instagram photos or something. Oh, look, she has some like walking stick things. Maybe that's smart. He said to bring spiked shoes and stuff. These are the little things that I would not think about. As a non-hiker, not an anti-hiker. I'm not anti-hiking, I'm just a non-hiker. I really wouldn't have thought of any of the little things, like shoes with grip, a stick to help me walk. Yeah, this just seems like a great way to, like, if you're in Canada and you're traveling to like cities and stuff, this is like one of the most outdoorsy adventure type things you could do. And it doesn't even cost anything, like parking. Oh, wow.
Next up at number 4 is going to be Johnston Canyon, and this beautiful canyon hike is 3.2 miles round trip with 859 feet of elevation gain. This takes you all the way up to Upper Falls, but if you would like to shorten the hike, Lower Falls is only about half of the distance and about half of the elevation gain. But if you're up for the hike, I highly recommend going to the end. It's a stunning hike through some beautiful canyon rock formations with beautiful aqua blue Johnston Creek flowing through the entire canyon. And just a quick note, for those that don't know, the kind of crazy aqua blue color found in this river and all of the blue alpine lakes in the Canadian Rockies, this color is coming from a mineral referred to as rock flour. It's in the water, and it kind of gives the water that deep blue or green color. And
Wow, I like this. I like this one in particular. Johnston Canyon. Not only does it get you like the waterfalls and like quite close to the rock formations, there's like a little like foresty kind of aspect to it. Whereas the first hike, that was 6 miles, was kind of like out in the open. That's for enjoying the mountain range. This one is a little more, I don't know, intimate. You can really get intimate with the mountain range. Is that what you want? Well, then go to the Johnston Canyon.
it kind of has that milky look to it. I love it. I think it's super cool. And it's definitely nice to know that not everything in the world is an Instagram filter. The water up here really is that blue. So it's awesome. And Johnston Canyon hike, you really get to see it with all of the 7 waterfalls that the canyon has to offer as you kind of walk through. And the whole trail is practically paved. There's a few points where you're on a dirt trail, but it is very well taken after. So
okay, I don't know. I wonder if there's some trails that are like not so well manicured. It's cool that this one's like 3 miles. It's pretty easy. There's a path the entire way. But maybe there's some hikes here that are a little off the beaten path. That'd be like a cool option.
So this is a great easy day hike.
I like this one. The waterfalls. Oh yeah, like here where you're walking and you're like 10 feet from like the huge like mountainous cavernous walls right around you and the trees. I like this one a lot.
Be the plain of 6. Next up at number 5 is going to be the Plain of Six Glaciers, and this is a big day hike from Lake Louise. Plain of Six Glaciers is a 9.1 mile round trip out and back hike with 1,929 feet of elevation gain.
Okay, this is exactly kind of what I meant. This is like the big hike, or bigger so far. And this is like taking you out into the wilderness. Who knows what could happen to you? That's kind of part of the fun, though.
It's a long day, but it is so worth it. It's one of my favorite places in the national park. The Plain of Six Glaciers is far beyond Lake Louise, and the entire environment changes as you hike. So once you get above tree line, the terrain becomes more and more rugged, and the views just kind of open up to these stunning peaks, glaciers, and rock in every direction. Looking back, you have a great view of Lake Louise in the distance and the resort as well. But just a bit before the final viewpoint, you're going to pass the Plain of Six Glaciers tea house, which is so awesome. You can grab tea, homemade mountain snacks, soup.
I love these little tea houses. Just like, I love that they made these out in the wilderness on these hikes as like a little reward slash like enjoyable little thing. It takes some effort to get to them, and you get to enjoy it, then continue your hike. Perfect, love it.
And more. Just make sure to bring cash, just like the Lake Agnes tea house. And once you are up, kind of making your way to the top of the Plain of Six Glaciers viewpoint, to be honest, there was a quick moment where I felt like I was hiking in Nepal or Pakistan or something like that. It is just such a stunning area. And again, I did not do this hike until my third trip up to Canada.
Oh my goodness, look at this. What the heck? I know, like, this is what I'm saying. I didn't know there were such, like, incredible views in Canada. Like, as far as mountain ranges and stuff, like this national park. It's as beautiful as anything on the planet, basically, could be.
Canada, but I highly recommend it to anyone up for the mileage. Number 6 is going to be Peyto Lake, and this is a 1.5 mile round trip hike with 275 feet of elevation gain, and this is kind of including all of the different viewpoints on the hike up, so you can get different vantages of Peyto Lake.
Okay.
The lower viewpoint is awesome, but I really enjoy the upper panorama viewpoint. And honestly, the entire trail is just beautiful once the lake comes into view. This is also one of the most famous lakes in the Canadian Rockies, up there with Lake Louise. It's a must and a classic if you're traveling to Banff. It's a little bit further up of a drive. If you're staying...
Oh, this is a good view right here. Man, there are surprising amount of tourists. Like, this is clearly an extremely popular park. There's always, as far into nature and as into the mountains as it feels like I'm getting here, there's still like always crowds of people.
In Banff, it might be its own little day trip, but couldn't recommend it enough. Or if you're driving up the Icefields Parkway to Jasper, you're gonna pass it, so you definitely have to make the stop. And if you look closely from the top, you'll actually notice that the right side of the lake is shaped like a wolf's head, which is one of the cooler things I've ever seen in Mother Nature. So definitely check that out and see if you notice it as well.
Okay.
Next up is going to be exploring or staying at the Fairmont Chateau Lake Louise. This is one of the most beautiful luxury mountain hotels in the world. I've never personally stayed here, as it is super expensive, and every time I've driven to Canada, I've always van lifed it. But rooms here start around $300 USD per night, and they go all the way up to $12,000 USD per night for one of their nicest suites, the Marquis de Lorne suite. Oh
Look, maple. Of course, I freeze it on like endless vials of Canadian maple syrup, tempting me. These maple leaf jars, man. I've never gotten to see one in real life, but they're like little works of art, especially to American who like has never seen that. Anyway, back to the mountains. The mountains! In addition to these vials of Canadian maple syrup, the mountains, like, the fact that you're looking at that from this hotel, $300 a night, the cheapest. Yeah, I mean, it depends on your budget, but if you're trying to spend like a week on this national park, looking at everything, probably not going to stay in this insane hotel. But one night in this hotel for the experience, maybe? maybe worth it?
The hotel is surrounded by mountain peaks, the majestic Victoria Glacier, and it is right above Lake Louise. For those who don't stay at the hotel, there's an entire area of the hotel dedicated for visitors who aren't staying there. There's tons of awesome shops and places to explore. It's a great place for souvenirs, and I would recommend it for anyone visiting Lake Louise.
Oh, so you can jump in there even if you're not staying and kind of bug everybody and enjoy the stores and stuff inside. That's cool too.
Just
These reflections are so pure. I almost couldn't tell that it was a reflection. Huh.
further, you're going to has
Oh, so there are some actual, like, he's not even calling it rock climbing. He's calling it scrambling. Is that under rock climbing? Scrambling. I've never even heard it said like that, but I can picture what scrambling up a rock face would be like. Okay, so if you're a little more advanced, there's stuff here for that as well. Good. Ooh, is this like a class or something? This feels like this is some kind of canoeing class or something. Like I've done with the whitewater rafting thing, very popular in the United States. This feels like maybe a guided tour in the canoe. So that'd be cool, like in its own way. Some people prefer to have like more of a tour thing going on than trying to figure it out themselves. So I like that this is available.
trip to Banff or the Canadian Rockies without stopping at Moraine Lake. It's like the poster card of Banff and of the Canadian Rockies. It's one of the most picture-perfect places out there. It's a famous screensaver on Apple and other computers. And honestly, I've seen photos of Moraine Lake all around the world in reference to someone talking about Alpine Lake. The best way to enjoy the lake is to walk
Oh, you know when you've become an Apple screensaver, you've really made it.
around the lake shore, explore the cafe and gift shop, and hike up the rock pile. The rock pile is only a half-mile round-trip hike
There's also a bunch of these like little homey handmade things.
and hike up the rock.
Like this, these little stairs even. I appreciate even these little rock steps. There's a lot of little handmade stuff like that I've been seeing throughout this, which is pretty cool. Because it's such a gigantic place to put that much effort into the little things is nice.
Rock pile. The rock pile is only a half-mile round-trip hike with 50 feet of elevation gain, but it gets you just above the lake shore so you can see the classic view of this lake.
Who are these? What is this? Are these houses? Who are these people living in this beautiful, like, remote mountain lake? Or is this more hotels, or are these rentable? Are people living here? Who are they? I'm jealous.
It's safe to say that Moraine Lake should be on every single person's travel bucket list.
Oh my goodness. Pretty crazy.
And next up at number 10 is going to be Consolation Lakes, and this is a great day hike that actually starts at Moraine Lake. So after enjoying Moraine, you can head off for an afternoon hike and visit the two Consolation Lakes, which is a 4.7 mile round trip hike with 1,079 feet of elevation gain. And when I have hiked here, Bree and I have had this trail all to ourselves, which is really nice, and it seems there isn't too much foot traffic here. So it is a great place for good views and some nice solitude.
Oh, this is the one for if you want to get away from the crowds. That's cool.
I'm going to add in one bonus one. I could go on for days talking about awesome places in Banff, but I want to include Bow Lake and Crowfoot Glacier. This is on the northern side of Banff National Park up near Peyto Lake and the Icefields Parkway, but this is an incredible aqua blue alpine lake that's on the side of the highway, and it's a great place for an afternoon
I have not seen one shot of the mountains that doesn't look worthy of like an art prize or something absurd.
picnic or just to hang out. And it's right next to Peyto Lake, so if you're taking a day trip from Banff, might as well do Bow Lake and Peyto Lake in the same day.
Obviously, all this would look 100 times more. I mean, it might not even seem real when you see this kind of stuff in person. It's just outrageous.
So that is going to wrap up my top 10 hikes and places to visit in Banff National Park. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I was able to share some trails with you that you may have never heard of and potentially help an upcoming trip that you do to Banff. Anyways, again, if you have not already, please like and subscribe for more. It helps me out so much and I appreciate it more than I can say.
Okay. Pretty cool. Very cool, honestly. And this was by Kevin Issa. Hope I'm saying that right. And I liked it. I liked that quite a bit. This was extremely well done, by the way. And, like, very helpful. If you were planning a trip here, this video would actually be extremely helpful. He said he covered some of the hikes. Are there more? Is there, like, even more stuff to this national park? This place has everything. Goodness, I liked this. Banff National Park. I knew this would be cool. Never heard about it, never learned about it. I'm very happy I did. Oh, look at this comment. Canada is blessed with this magnificent nature. Love it. Yes, indeed. I like it too. Very cinematic, says this guy. I agree. This was extremely cinematic. Not just because he shot it very well, but that, it lends itself. The beauty. The natural beauty of Canada never gets old. I enjoyed this a lot. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada, Canadian culture, stuff in Canada that I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.